A very commonly asked question when people are starting out is how can I improve the security of my locks? And adding security pins is definitely one of the correct answers. So what I'd like to do next is just go over the various security pins that you may run into. What I have in front of us are the most common driver pins that you will most likely run into in your lockpicking journey. In position 5 here, you should be very familiar with this pin. This is a standard driver pin. This is probably the most common driver pin that you will run into. These driver pins are very susceptible to rocking, raking, zipping, lock bumping, any of the non-skilled attacks. They work very well on these pins. And because of these pins being exploited very easily, security pins were developed to help stop that.
Today's video will be all about security pins, how they work, and what they do for a lock. They're pins that essentially make a lock a lot harder to pick or open with tools other than a key. This includes bumping, raking, self-impressioning, and a few other techniques. And check out a standard spool pin. This pin is by far the most common type of security pin in pin tumbler locks. They're in commercial locks and even cheap residential locks. You might have all standard pins with a single spool, trying to prevent some fast entry techniques such as bumping or raking. You'll notice I've added a red line for a core indicator here on the right side. This will help us visually track the core rotation. You can see if we give this lock some tension with a wrench, it would allow our core to rotate quite a bit and eventually come to a stop. This is about 6 degrees of rotation, but you can see it looks and feels like quite a lot. Lock pickers call this a false set. You can't really turn the core fully to open the lock, but you get the initial feeling like you're going towards open.
So I'm going to show you an example now. Just pay attention to the two black lines. Okay, so we have a false set. You can see that the two black lines are getting separated. To set. So we just pinned up a lock that was a 66572. You can tell that in positions 1 and 2 we did serrated pins because the key pin was a little bit too long for a spool pin and the spool would not have come into play.
So let's wrap up security pins. Their basic idea is to produce a lot of false feedback, to make both lock picking as well as faster entry techniques harder to execute, or just take more time.